Welcome to a Monday surprise short stack. Today we have two guests, one of whom is having some camera difficulties, so he's just here with us in voice, and one of whom will be the face for their cool Kickstarter project, which we're going to talk a bit about, and talk a bit about some design challenges with nifty, fun boards and moving components. So, Sen, do you want to do the honors of introducing our guests?
Yeah, I'm going to do something before we do that because it is Mail Call Monday. But I also wanted to tell you guys who's going to be on the show on Wednesday. I don't even think Jesse knows.
Yeah, I
Jesse,
don't know.
do you know who's going to be on?
No,
Oh, okay.
I've been a bit worried, actually.
Oh, really? It's going to be James Hudson. James is the CEO of the whole Grim Forest thing, Druid City Games. So James is coming on, and interestingly enough, we got Daniel Zayas to come on as well, who is going to be representing Longpack. And Longpack has given us a bunch of cool things. Jesse, you still have to get yours.
I have not received it, no.
Erica has your copy. We'll have to figure out how to get that to you. But I don't know. But Longpack Games was actually the manufacturer that handled Grim Forest. And so we're going to have Grim Forest publisher James Hudson, Longpack of Grim Forest, and we're going to talk about the relationship. How do you negotiate that relationship between publisher and manufacturer? Who's responsible for what? And all that type of stuff that designers like Jesse and myself, who never publish our own things, don't know. And so that's really kind of an important thing, especially for people who are, kickstarting their own thing, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So let's get on to that after this. So what came in the mail today? Let's see, this big box of stuff. And in this box of stuff, I've got, hey, look. Oh. And this is something that I've wanted for a while. This is a card game. That is a small card game. So it's a trick-taking game called Djinn by Jay Cormier and myself, from the wonderful publishers at Huch and Friends in Germany. And the reason why I've been looking to make a card game for a long time is because we don't have anything that's really stocking stuffer size in our arsenal of games. And so now we have something that we can recommend to families and friends who aren't, maybe the biggest gamers, don't want to spend, $60 on one of our larger games. This is a nice way to get there. So not only did Jay and I diversify in terms of types of games, in terms of, dexterity games versus strategy games versus family games, we really actually do also try to hit different price points so that if somebody is asking for one of our games, we can tell them, hey, this is a good game for that value of dollar if you're looking for something. Anyways, that's all that came in the mail this week. So we're going to move on to our short stack today. And our short stack is, again, dealing with just a topic and this was a really interesting one because there are people, I don't know if you knew this, but there are people designing games out there who are kickstarting their games and making their own thing come to life. And today we have a few people with us. We have Richard and Corey, and they have made a game called Centrix. And not only are they making good games, they're also Canadian, and that helps because we like Canadians on the Meeple Syrup show. Nationalism be damned, but we still like Canadians because we're Canadians. So here we are with Richard and Corey and Centrix. So that's some pictures of them doing their thing, and their board is pretty darn amazing. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Jesse, you want to start off with the questions?
Yeah, I think the first question sort of to get us into the conversation and get us started, it's got to be, can you guys tell us a little bit about the game Centrix? Like, what is it? How do you play? And how did you come up with, did the board come first? Did the board come second? You've got this cool rotating board, and I want to know where it came up in the process of designing this product.
The board came first, and then how to play it came second. And the latter was actually a lot more difficult. The board was just me sitting with Corey at the kitchen table, drew 4 squares and allocated kind of colors to the pie-shaped division. And I proposed the idea that, well, you rotate these discs somehow, and then you climb something to the top. But that was the extent of what I had on. And we try to come up with all sorts of weird ways using dice, using color cards and number cards and everything else. It took a long time, good 6 months, until we actually had a mechanic.
Awesome. Corey, anything to add to that?
Yeah, it was literally like when you're ideating a design. I'd always wanted to do something for kids and or adults and develop a board game. And had a good friend in Richard that we were just willing to brainstorm and ideate the game. And it did take a little while. Like as you can see from the board, or at least your viewers when you put it up, you'll see that it's got a lot of levels to it. It's got 6 levels in the top, and we just started with some drawings, as Richard said, and then we moved to the old cereal box cutouts, and then we play tested it with some folks and ourselves, and then we thought, hey, this is pretty good. So then we said, let's build an actual wood prototype. And, from the wood prototype, we said, hey, this is good. So let's find a way to do a 3D rendering of the board. And so we searched out, some inexpensive designers to help us with the first iteration. And we're able to create a rendering of it and actually did a 3D printing. So, it took a little while to get there, but I think we have something pretty special and it's unique, and it's kind of retro old school too. So,
So retro old school. Can you tell us what you mean by that, and how is that an appealing thing?
Yeah. So if you look at the colors, the colors are a little retro. A lot of folks have compared the games, compared Centrix to like games like Blockus, which is, a few years old, Parcheesi, those types of games. One person I think told us it was the Sorry Killer. So, which we like to hear. Definitely it was a little bit different in terms of what we've seen, and we looked at hundreds of games. And we thought that the board was pretty unique, and a lot of folks told us that it took them back to their youth a little bit, when they were growing up and playing games.
Okay, cool. I see that you have circular cards in some of your prototypes, and then you have, regular poker-shaped cards in other pictures. What are you going with, the circles or the poker shapes?
We're going with the poker shapes. They're less expensive production, but as a stretch goal, round cards.
Ah, I see. That's a good stretch goal. I like that. I remember my first set of circular cards was from where was it from? It was from not Six Flags. It was from some other, maybe Canada's Wonderland. So I have fond memories of circular cards. So yeah, that's a nostalgic thing. So when you say it's the Sorry Killer, can you describe mechanically how the game plays out?
Sure, I'll go ahead with that. You've got cards that have numbers and colors. The number indicates how many times you can spin the board, as in how many squares you can spin the board, 1, 2, or 3. And the color is the landing square that your pawn has to land on. So the idea is that you're going sideways in order to climb up. You're moving the board sideways to move up. You can also leapfrog over pawns, provided you're landing on that color that is the card that you're using. And you can take out an opponent. You can bump them down 2 squares. So there's a bit of strategy involved because the board is constantly changing with every move and with every turn. For that reason, there is a little bit of strategy, there is a little bit of problem solving every time that you're doing it. So it's just a little bit more difficult than your standard game that Corey was referring to. And that's what we like about it, because it makes it more challenging, and yet it's easy to learn.
Right, so it seems like it's almost like a puzzle to figure out how to get your pawn up higher to the center on your turn. Is that what you're trying to do? Get your pawns up to the center?
You're trying to get all three pawns up to the top, but
Okay.
you're having to negotiate your way up, kind of unlock it like a code or a nation lock, if you will.
Okay, great. And everybody plays with 3 pawns, so the first person to get all 3 pawns wins?
Correct.
Okay, and then is there a second place, third place, or is it just one winner?
No, you play out to the second, third, and fourth, and so forth. The games are very close. There's no runaway winner either, which makes it kind of fun. The person who wins, typically the next round, there's a winner, and so on and so forth. So there's no one sort of left behind, like way behind in this game.
Okay.
And that makes it very exciting right until the very end, because you really don't know who's going to win.
Okay, and how many players does it handle?
Up to 6.
Oh, really? Great. Okay. And so how is it on Kickstarter right now? What are you guys at, funding-wise?
We're at 33% so far. We got 15 days left.
Okay. And how has fan response been on Kickstarter?
Mixed. The beginning was really hot. Weekends are really bad. Advertising right now, including on Board Game Geek, and that seems to be paying off really well.
Oh, good to hear. So tell us, just winding back from the Kickstarter, what was the hardest thing about making? Was it the board?
Yeah, definitely. It was hard to make a board that you could make inexpensively, because to 3D print the base is $300. And
Wow.
So it was actually hard to make a whole bunch of these prototypes and then mail out to reviewers. We did send one out to a local neighbor of yours, Bearded Meeple.
Oh, yeah, he was just over.
Yeah.
He just came to the house a second ago.
Well, he did a wonderful review, but the problem is he had to then mail back the board to us, because, we only have a couple of these boards. So it's been a bit of a problem, actually.
Okay. And then after that, so it's almost an engineering problem, right? Making the board. What has been the other challenges that you've found in designing board games past that, and how did you solve them?
Well, I'll jump in there. So one of the challenges, I think, is we're pretty new to the whole board game space. We think we have a unique game, but it's how to get the word out, to folks that, would want to have an interesting and unique board game. And so we've been really focused there in the last couple of weeks is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, meeting with you folks, doing some other podcasts. How do you get the word out so that folks, will want to watch the Kickstarter and back us? That's been a good learning experience. And we both come from business backgrounds, so we're well aware of kind of marketing and promotion, but this is a whole nother area. And you do have to build a bit of credibility in the space. And we want people to like the game for what it is. We think we've developed something pretty pure. So, we're hoping that, a large majority of people are going to like it. Some folks might not like an abstract game. We get that. But other folks, we think, if you like an abstract game, I think this is a really good option for them.
Mm-hmm. So what made you kickstart?
Well, we might have answers to that. Go ahead, Corey, give yours, and I'll give mine for sure.
Well, the cost of production on this is fairly high, as you can imagine with the board. And so we thought, a great way to fund the production of and the manufacturing of the board would be to do the Kickstarter route. And we actually thought that, we did so much work on the board design, on the development of the creative of the box and everything. We're almost acting like a publisher if you think that way. And so we thought Kickstarter is a great way to crowdfund this initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it's very much, I don't want to just be a game designer, I want to be a game publisher. So doing a Kickstarter was very important to me to get that learning, if you will, about how that's done, how it works, how it goes. And neither of us really felt like going and pitching the game to publishers and spending the next year or two or three, who knows, doing that process. Kickstarter seemed like a quicker route to market.
Okay. Cool. Jess, do you have any questions?
No, I need to bring my face up. Actually, I'd like to I have one design question that sort of popped up when you guys were first talking about the brief history of the game. I'm curious because you'd said that you tried a whole bunch of different ways to sort of make an interesting game out of this cool board that you came up with. And one of those ways involved dice and cards and all this other kind of stuff. What was the sort of biggest design lesson you learned from a unsuccessful mechanic? If that's too broad of a question, to make it a little more specific, when you first considered how you might use dice, you considered using dice in the game, but now there's no dice in it at all. Where did the dice come from, and why did they go? And what did that teach you about game design in that process?
Jesse, that sounds. Where did the dice come? Where did they go? Where did the dice go, Cotton Eye Joe? Anyways, sorry. Answer the question, please.
Dice there was just too much going on. They didn't connect with each other very well. It was just an ugly game, actually. And I have a personal aversion to dice. I just don't like the idea that there's kind of this chance thing that's going on. Plus, I'm actually able to roll sixes with some reasonable reliability. You can actually do that. So, I don't know, it was just a way to figure out, okay, we need this thing to turn, dice would be good, but then we dumped it pretty quickly when we lumped the spinning into the cards themselves and won.
Yeah, and I would just add that to Richard's comment, the time that it would take you to and then play a color card and then spin the wheel, there was too much complexity in that for the average player. And so by eliminating the dice, we removed a little bit of time that it would take to do the move. Most people, when they see the board, they look, okay, how am I going to get my piece up to the next level? So that on its own is a little bit complex for first timers, but once you get the hang of it, you can start moving pretty quickly with cards. With adding the dice piece in, it actually made it even longer, the game. And so we found that taking that kind of step out made a lot of sense.
Okay.
Cool.
Excellent. I think that, I think the game looks really, really cool. You've gone to a lot of effort to make that prototype. And so I'm hoping that things go well for you. But I did want to ask you a question, and this is not saying anything particularly bad is going to happen at the game. But what if you don't fund? What are you going to learn from that? What are you going to take away from that? And what are you going to do differently the next time?
Well, we're not going to not fund. We're going to pull the game if we feel that we're not going to fund, and we're going to retool and come back. So we will be back, in other words, if it's not this round.
Okay. And what would that retooling look like? What would you retool? What would you do differently?
Okay, so we have a really good conversion ratio once people arrive at the Kickstarter page, 16.5% around there, so that's pretty decent. People are watching the movie all the way through to the end at about 43%, which is
that's really good.
Those are really good numbers. So once people see the game and read about it and understand it, they do want to buy it. The issue is getting the message out to those people to arrive at the Kickstarter page, and that's the part that we probably didn't prepare as well for. We should have been having this discussion probably 2 months ago. How's that?
Yeah. And also, what live things have you been doing, like in real people land, have you been doing to support the game or to support the Kickstarter, prepare for the Kickstarter? Have you been going to cons? I know you guys are at 401, other local game stores. What are you doing, and how have you been getting the word out there?
We started at Proto-TO. We did an initial play test there. And then we've gone to Snakes and Lattes, 401 Games, Board Game Bliss several times. I would add, actually, to the previous question about problems, we did come up with a decent enough game. It just played too long. When we went into the different designer nights at the different game cafes, that's when the game actually became decent, and we got advice from dozens of board game designers, including like well-known ones like Chris Chung, Jeff Lai, so published people who gave us exactly what we needed to shorten the game and make it much more playable. But
that's excellent to hear. Yeah.
That's been essential in terms of getting the word out and getting exposure as well as social media.
Okay. And Are you guys planning on going to any of the big conventions in the States, like Origins or Gen Con?
We don't have a plan for that at the moment, no. But yes, we have to go there eventually, yes. I see that.
Okay. Excellent. Jess, do you have any last-minute questions?
No, I think that's a good place perhaps to wrap it up, unless you've got another burning question on the tip of your tongue, or... No? All right. Yeah. I mean, that brings us in at just over 20 minutes, which is a good length for a short stack. So we should remind everybody that we've been talking about Centrix, this really cool, perhaps sorry killer, which is currently up on Kickstarter, put out by these two cool guys from Toronto. Definitely go check it out, see if it's for you, and share it with your friends who you think it might be a good fit for.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
no problem. Yeah, and just to remember that Wednesday we're going to have James Hudson of Grim Forest and Druid City Games coming on talking with Daniel Zayas, who is the a marketing and account rep for Longpack Game Manufacturers. So we'll have this kind of neat discussion about publisher to manufacturer conversations and negotiations and what happens there. Okay, so come check us out on Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, same place.